All right, here we go. Welcome into Hawk Talk on Melrose. I am Collin, joined today with Tyler again, and unfortunately, another loss against a ranked team. And if you're watching this on YouTube, when you click the title, the thumbnail is going to say what could have been. And what I mean by that is, man, we had so many opportunities yesterday. We're recording this on Sunday. So many opportunities, so many just moments in that game where it felt like, man, like I think we're going to do it, especially like after Lutmar's interception. The reason why I say that is because I feel like this Iowa team is kind of like stuck in the mud a little bit. It's not bottom of the barrel. It is not, because if it was, you don't go on the road last week at Rutgers and beat Rutgers. If you're bottom of the barrel and your program's at an all-time low, you don't almost beat Iowa State, who's clearly pretty damn good, on the road. You don't almost beat a top 11 Indiana team who just beat Illinois 63-10. But we're just kind of in this middle part where it just doesn't feel like we can get out of it. And yesterday could have just been that moment that potentially could have compelled us to maybe getting over that hump a little bit. Now we're 11 straight games against ranked teams losing. And the one positive from yesterday, and I hate moral victories, is it was pretty close. Most of our ranked games the last 3 or 4 years have been awful performances, losing by 3, 4, 5 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. But it's just, that is where, like, today I'm just sick to my stomach, because did I expect Iowa to win? I went in not feeling very confident. I did an episode a couple days ago. I really did not feel confident. I picked Indiana. But to watch that game and just to see the opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to potentially win that game, and you come up short, and it just feels like, once again, we're just in this stale, kind of stuck in the mud. How do we get out of it? How do we get to that next level as a program? Because I wouldn't say, like I said, we're in a unhealthy spot, but we're just in that tier where it just doesn't seem like we can get it over the hump.
Yeah, and I think the reason, again, to just dive a little more deeper into why we feel like what could have been, why it feels like what could have been, is because once again, you play Iowa State, you play Indiana, and you get them to play our sort of brand of football. Yep. We lull them into our sort of trap, right?
Which I did not think was going to work with Signetti, and it did, which is kind of crazy.
Your episode, you talked about how he is just a foot on the gas, foot on your neck type of guy, and he will just put up points at will. And yep. They were not able to do that yesterday. And so that's why you just feel like you almost played the right way to beat this team, and once again, just like Iowa State, you just left a few plays out there that you wish you had back, and we fall short again, and it's tough, because it's like, now this is 11 straight. This used to be, especially at home, used to be sort of the giant killer. We were the giant killer, and we have to find a way to get over the hump. We're right there. You're right. You're exactly right. It's not like we are bottom of the barrel. We are right there, and it almost just feels mental at this point.
It definitely does. I mean, when Lutmar picked that interception off, the crowd was just crazy. And yeah, kind of side note, the crowd yesterday was amazing for how hot it was. Because sometimes that can drain the energy a little bit, almost 90 degrees. But man, the crowd was into it every single down. And I talked about that, how that had to be an advantage for Iowa. And it definitely was. I really do feel like credit goes to Iowa's defense for playing a great game. But I do think the crowd helped in a lot of those scenarios. But when Lutmar got that interception, man, Kinnick was rocking, because it felt like this is a classic Iowa game. When we play ranked teams, like in the past, where it's kind of a boring game, we get you sucked into playing our style, and we're going to wait until you make a mistake. We're going to just bottle you up, and you're going to make a mistake at the end, and we're going to kick a walk-off field goal. And unfortunately, we had 2 downs to get 5 yards, second 5. And, because all we needed was one more first down, and the game's potentially over if we kick a field goal. But even with not getting that, we still had an opportunity to kick a field goal. And of course, we had the miss, and that's what sucks, because when you play the style of football you can't have mistakes. You got to play almost perfect when you play this type of style. And fortunately, Iowa, to begin the game, interception, block punt that could have been way worse. It wasn't as bad as it was, but still block punt. And then you had, the missed field goal, just different things like that, where you start adding those things up. It's going to be really hard to win those type of games, especially against an Indiana team that is obviously pretty damn good.
Yeah. And to build off that a little bit, it's like, I just feel like right now we're not very good in situational football, which I feel like has always been something we have been good at. You mentioned the start of the game, obviously probably the worst start you could hope for.
That was bad. I was like, oh boy.
Yeah. On your second pass attempt to throw a pick, obviously, it sucks for Mark. It was batted at the line of scrimmage, and you just, unfortunate bounce their way. But then to give up a 2-play touchdown, and after we had received it right away, it's just momentum just completely shifted right away. But then you get back on track, and then end of the first half, they have like 22 seconds or whatever it is with like one timeout. And you're just like, man, we've got this 3-point lead. We're feeling great.
Yep.
And
all the momentum,
which was a theme of the day, and I'm sure we'll talk about when we talk about the defense, but poor tackling, man.
Yeah.
We allow their running back, after we felt like we bottled them up, to scamper for like a 15 or 20 yard gain. Then they complete a big pass with a targeting penalty, which was bullshit. I'll say it on here. So
I think it wasn't targeting. It was roughing the passer.
Roughing. Sorry, yeah. Roughing the passer. You're right. Total ticky tack. I thought they were overreacting to that, but whatever. Regardless, you can't put yourself in that position. And then the theme that I always say that happens inside Kinnick is opposing kickers will just never miss field goals anymore.
Yeah,
just
I know. It
never
feels
happens.
like they always make.
So that was just poor situational football. And then the end of the game, I mean, we have a field goal to take the lead, we miss it, and we end up giving up like a 50-yard touchdown. So the key spots in the game where you just felt like you played so good in between those moments, and those were just killers.
I love playing the going into a game, this kind of like situation where if I would have told you before the game that Indiana was going to score a touchdown in the first minute and a half, so like 13:33 is when they scored, they wouldn't have another touchdown, which this doesn't even, like, after watching that Illinois game, you couldn't pay me to think this was going to be true, where they didn't score again a touchdown until a minute 28 left in the fourth quarter. So they almost went like over 55 minutes without even scoring a touchdown. And then their only other points was a field goal at the end of the first half, which shouldn't have been a field goal. That was just terrible tackling by Iowa. Just, sweet, but we give it up. And then a field goal, I think it was in the fourth quarter, we gave up a field goal. But I mean, defense played. I know we can sit here and we can criticize the tackling, which, yes, it was bad, but they played as good as you can play given the opponent, given how good this Indiana's offense is. And it just, once again, it just comes down to our offense, even though Mark, I thought, had a pretty good game. What was he, like 19 for 25? But it's just our offense, man. Like it's just every single year, they just can't do quite enough to help our defense out. Defense played as good as you could play, giving up 20 points. And really, the defense only technically gave up 13, because you take away that first drive where they started at Iowa's 24-yard line. I mean, what do you expect? Yeah, they're probably going to score there. So defense played as good as you can play. Yes, tackling was not good, especially at the end of the first half. And I just just saying all those things before the game, like 2 or 3 days before the game, being like, hey, this is what's going to happen. They're going to have like less than 300 yards. I think that's what they finished. I would have to look here. No, they finished with 337 yards, but they're going to be 0 for 3 on fourth down. They're going to be 6 for 15 on third down. First downs, about what Iowa is. They're going to have 18. We're going to have 17. Man, I would take that in a heartbeat, because we led the time of possession and we had more plays in Indiana. Exactly. And I would be like, yeah, we should win that in a heartbeat, because I would figure that our offense has somewhat taken that next step, but no, it just doesn't matter. I mean, when we play games like this, whether it's like the Iowa State game, this game, or you go back in the past, just doesn't matter. The offense just completely shuts down. And it's unfortunate because, man, the defense, like I said, played as good as you can play. If your offense just is decent at home, you win this game. It's as simple as that. I just thought we really controlled this game. I mean, for the most part, Iowa looked like the better team yesterday, which is crazy to think, but we did most of the game, and fell short.
Yeah, and I don't want to, listening to this first few minutes, I don't want it to make it sound like I'm like saying that it was anything but our offense's fault and special teams, but like what I was referring to is the style in which we're trying to play at. You have to be very good on special teams, and you have to be really, really, really good like we were in the past on defense to have our offense just survive, right? Yeah. And that's not really the case right now. And so that puts that much more pressure on this offense, which still isn't where it needs to be. And that hits home to your point. I mean, for as good as I thought Mark played yesterday, I mean, he was 19 of 25, but only 144 yards, dude. Like, it was, less than 6 yards of completion. It was just,
we weren't throwing the ball down the field at all.
No. And we weren't obviously turning it into points. It felt like we had some good drives, and it just, I don't know. And I don't, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, we had too many drives where maybe we would get a first down, but then on that first down play, we would get behind the sticks, or we would do something stupid, and then all of a sudden it's like 2nd and 11 or 3rd and 10, and at that point we're done for. I mean, there was countless drives there where, hey, we were kind of driving like okay, and then we would do something stupid, and it's like, God damn it, we get behind the sticks, and now it's like you said, drive killer.
Just too many critical errors, and obviously, we'll talk about Mark's injury, but
it
just really feels like, man, if he was in there at the end of the game, it really gives you a chance to win that.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to bring that up. I mean, I don't want to use that as an excuse, and who knows, maybe if Mark plays in the fourth quarter, do we win that game? We don't know. I mean, that's just such a what if. But I will say it definitely stung not having him in there those last 2 drives for sure, because you think about that first drive that he wasn't in there, it ended up being an interception by Hank Brown, and that's a drive where that doesn't happen. And this is what I don't understand by Kirk, is he's always so conservative, but then we throw the ball on 3rd and 6 or 7 with a backup quarterback when really
in field goal range.
You're in field goal range. You're at the Indiana 39 yard line. Yeah. And so you're looking at a 54 yarder. You run the football there, maybe get a few more yards, and you can kick a field goal, but interception, and then the next drive there. And that final drive, not talking the one where it's like less than 2 minutes, because I knew the game was over. I'm not even going to count that drive.
The second to last.
The one where Lutmar, if you have this is, and I was telling Austin this, who's sitting next to me, I said, if you have Mark here, it's obvious run situations, but you have a quarterback that can run the football, which could maybe add something to those 3 plays where it's not just handing the ball off in the middle. Maybe you're doing some quarterback powers that have been working this year for Iowa, but you don't have him in there. You have Hank Brown, who's more of kind of a statue quarterback. He can't really run the football. And so it's so obvious what we're going to do. We're just going to run down the middle. And then that 3rd down play call, I thought, I mean, even Austin said, what a great play call, because if Hank Brown connects there to Moulton, you have 2 blockers and 1 defender. Maybe the defender gets past the blockers. I don't know, but maybe Moulton makes a miss. That's a great play call. If he catches that could have been a first down, but that was a bad throw by Hank Brown. And once again, you're relying on a backup who, and that it's just such a tough spot for him to come in there, and you're making him try to force, you got to throw that ball good to connect with it. Just doesn't make sense to me. But this is just what's so frustrating, is looking at the drive chart. We had end of the 3rd quarter to pretty much the end of the 4th. We had 3 drives where we ended at the Indiana 44, the Indiana 39, and the Indiana 24. So all in plus territory, and pretty much all in field goal range. Maybe that Indiana 44, that would have been like a 59 yarder. But that's a drive where it's like, God, you just get 1 first down. Maybe it sets you up, but 3 drives, Indiana 44, 39, and 24, 0 points in those 3 drives. And when you look at the final score, I mean, that even if they're field goals that you end up getting on those drives, you probably win the game, but 0 points, you just can't let that happen. And unfortunately, we did, because that's just the story of this offense. Just simple as that. I mean, it's just when you need the offense to do something for you, it comes up short every single time.
Yeah, like I said, I felt like we moved the ball against this Indiana defense, and you just I didn't even know that, so that's a great stat by you there. Yeah. And it explains why we're feeling the way we do today. It feels like, how did we lose? And that's exactly why, because we were driving, but Indiana's defense, when it needed to, it bowed up and forced us to stall out, and that's where you just feel like, it's, some of it is credit to Indiana, but it's also like our offense just has to get over this hump of just being mediocre, especially in these big games, for sure. Because you're exactly right. Like, in some of these big games, you feel like you're getting blown out. And two of our biggest games of the year, we had opportunities. Even, I know you talked about even at the end of the game, like, you just didn't feel good. But it's like, man, and it's with a backup quarterback, so it's a totally different situation than even like the Iowa State game. But you had the ball with timeouts to go in both of those games, and we just really didn't do much. And that's where we have to find a way to get better, because our 2-minute offense is maybe the worst of all time.
It's so bad. It's almost as if we never practice it and they have no idea what's going on.
Yeah.
Really bad. One other point too, looking at the drive chart, end of the first quarter, I understood it in a way, because you want to pin them back in the north end zone, but there was also a drive where we finished at the Indiana 40. So that would have been a 55-yarder. And you're not going against the wind. We weren't going against the wind there, because we were going north and the wind was coming out of the south. So you had the wind behind you. I don't know why we punted the football there, because that's another one where it's like, man, you kick the field goal, make it 7-6, but we punt the football. And the next drive for Indiana, they didn't score on that drive, but they went right down the field, 10 plays, 70 yards. And then we actually turned the ball over on downs on that 4th and 1. But still, like, at that point, like, if you trust Drew Stevens' leg, which that's one thing. I mean, his accuracy's been terrible this year, but he has a leg. I don't get why we punted the football there, but I don't know if it even matters at that point. It's early in the game. I just wanted to bring that up. But one other thing with the defense too, I mean, how awesome were those 2 4th down and 1 stops? I mean, that was vintage Iowa defense. Kinnick was roaring. I mean, it was awesome. One last thing about the defense I do want to bring up, because we did talk a little bit about the missed tackles, but that last missed tackle by Deshaun Lee, it was almost kind of like everything wrapped up into one moment. Like, that was just a story of the game, missed tackle all game. And then that right there was the summary, right? Because watching the replay, man, Deshaun Lee, he wasn't really in position, but if he was, he tackles him at least 3 to 4 yards short of the first down. And you're talking, it's a 4th and 3, 4th and 4. That would have been like a 55-ish yard field goal, which I'm sure they still would have made, because it's opposing team inside Kinnick. They would have knocked it down, but you're talking maybe a completely different game. But yeah, just like I said, Deshaun Lee was just way out of position, and not good, just not good at all. And I don't know, we can debate that, or we could talk about that, the all out blitz there. I think was it Xavier and Cohen both blitzing?
Yeah. Yep. They both dropped.
Yeah. They both dropped. They both went.
There was a lot of success with blitzing on Fernando that whole game. So I'm not like totally shocked that we did it. I think I'm more shocked that we left Deshaun Lee on an island 10 yards off Elijah Surratt, their best receiver. I didn't love that.
Yeah. I don't mind the call, because the drive before that, we did it. Correct. And we got an interception. But I agree with you. If you're gonna blitz, you do not play soft coverage there. You line up.
Dude, they did this during the Rutgers game. And how many times were we like, why our blitz isn't even mattering? Because Kaliak Manis, it was such an easy pitch and catch, because our guys were playing so far off, and that almost felt like that exact same like defensive play style that we were doing against Rutgers there. I just love that for the have to have it moment for our defense. Yeah,
because like with an all-out blitz, you knew that Mendoza's going to throw it really quick, right? Like really quick. And so if you're playing up as a corner, it's going to come quickly, whether it is a 2 or 3 yard slant or whatever. And once again, even if he completes that like 2 or 3 yard slant,
you're there.
You're in position to at least make the tackle. So I don't know. Yep. Yeah, but it's just, for me, it's just so tough to criticize a defense because man, they played lights out. I mean, they played as good as you could play. After watching them in the first quarter of the Rutgers game and then seeing what Indiana did against Illinois, I was like, there is no way we keep them to 20 points or less. There's just no way. I mean, they're going to score in the 30s. I thought for sure, 100%. Especially since they scored a touchdown in the first minute and a half. I mean, they had 7 points in the first minute and a half. So defense, I mean, Phil Parker, great game plan this game. I mean, he really made Indiana earn like every yard that they could get. And I just didn't think that was going to happen with Cignetti. I just thought Cignetti would be able to control that part of the game. But no, I mean, we did exactly what we needed to do. All right. So I guess to kind of wrap all this up let's go back to Mark here. I know we talked a little bit about, what maybe could have been in the fourth quarter, but I think the biggest thing now moving forward though is like, is he going to be healthy to play? Because you're talking, we still have a season left. I mean, we still have some big games coming up. Yes, the playoffs are out of reach, but let's be honest. I mean, given the schedule, I mean, we would have to be it would have been a perfect season to make the playoffs, but you still have some big games ahead of, here coming up soon. But if Mark isn't, if he's not good to go, I mean, I do not feel good about the rest of the way. And so I'm hoping it's just, a minor knee injury or something, and the bye weeks, came at a really good time, and hopefully he's ready to go. But I'm just afraid because he didn't come back in the game, and his competitiveness, damn well he wants to be out there, especially when it's a game like that. Now, if we're down by 30 points, and it's like there's no reason to. But given the score, given the amount of time left, you knew full well that he would want to be out there, and he didn't come back out, which scares me a little bit that. Is it a more serious knee injury? I have no idea. I hope not. I hope it's just something very minor, out for the next week or two, and then he can play against Wisconsin. I mean, because we need him.
I don't know. It sounds like a knee, possibly, and again, this just goes to the larger issue of, I feel like our quarterbacks are cursed at Iowa.
Yeah.
Whether they're not very good or they're injured or they're both, right? They're both injured and not very good. And it's like, we just can never catch a break. And
no, we really can't.
I'll say this, even to just this season alone, that Mark Gronowski injury is just, again, a microcosm of all the freaking key injuries that we've had on this offense this year. And we just cannot catch a break right now. It sucks.
No. Yeah, it definitely stings because, like I said, that last drive, when it's obvious run situations, I really do think you could have used his legs, one of those plays to kind of switch things up or something. And just sucks because, like Hank Brown's not, with the statue quarterback, he's just not going to be able to do that. Now, the one thing is, like, unlike most years, we do have a somewhat competent backup, but I just don't know. I mean, you can't really trust Hank Brown. Like if he has to play, let's say the next month, you can't trust him to be able to get us over, especially when you're talking Penn State, on the road at Wisconsin, even though they're not very good. Yeah.
Yep. It's just a tough spot for Hank to come into that situation. First of all, like I think he played as good as he could have in that moment against that team. But like you said, going forward, obviously we need Mark so bad. So
where do we, I guess we'll end this off here. Like, where do we go from here? Because once again, just like I said a couple minutes ago, we still have moments and key opportunities on the schedule, but it's going to be tough. I will say that with how loud Kinnick was yesterday, and with us like showing that, hey, we can fare well against an upper team, that maybe we still have a shot at beating Penn State or Oregon at home. It's going to be really tough, but I just think, and I was telling Austin this last night, it probably won't happen, but we desperately need to win one of those two games, because we need, going back to what I said at the beginning of this episode, like what could have been, like we need something to just maybe compel us over that where we're just stuck. And fan base, we need it. Iowa needs it. You talked like mental. I feel like it is a lot of mental at this point. We just need a game like that. And so we still have opportunities on the schedule, but it's going to be really freaking tough.
Now, this is all reliant upon Mark Gronowski being our starting quarterback.
Exactly. Okay. Even at Wisconsin, even though they're not very good, that's going to be a tough game. Then you come home, you play Penn State, then you get Minnesota at home, which I do think Iowa should win that game. Then you have a bye week. Then you got Oregon, which that one, I mean, just watching them last night, their offense and their physicality up front, just they're so athletic. Yeah, pretty tough.
And their quarterback poised in that environment.
Yep, exactly.
Night. Crazy.
And then you got USC, which they lost yesterday against Illinois, but it's just you're playing on the West Coast, so you might as well just chalk that up as a loss because when's the last time we beat a team on the West Coast? Then you get Michigan State at home, which should be a win, and then you play at Nebraska, which that game you just never know. It's end of the year. There might be injuries on both sides, and you don't know where Nebraska will be at. You don't kind of know where Iowa's going to be at that point. So that game's kind of up in the air. But I mean, what are we right now? 3 wins.
3-2. Yeah.
3-2.
But
6-6, 7-5.
Yeah. My big concern going into the year, obviously, was, and I talked about this, I think with Colby, was just like, obviously getting over the hump and finally getting these big dogs at home and beating them. The problem is right now that we've had 2 really good opportunities early in the season.
Yep.
And we've come up short, playing almost like we come out of that game feeling like we win, but we still lose. And it's like, now it only gets tougher and tougher against Penn State and Oregon and USC at USC and like all those games you mentioned. It's like, I'm really fearful for the rest of the year. I'm not going to lie.
I am too. I really do think, and I'm not saying it's going to happen, but we as a fan base, just as a program, we really need to try to beat either Penn State or Oregon. We just need it. I mean, at this point, especially after yesterday where you were right there, like you had that game. You literally had that game and you came up short. We just need one of those wins, but because it could be a program defining win and it could just be honestly, just when you look at just the year in general,
season
that could be
saving.
That could just get us to, like, when you look back at the season, yes, it was a disappointment, but hey, we got Oregon at home or whatever, or we got Penn State at home. If we end up going 6-6 this year, but we lost all 3 games against ranked, Indiana, Oregon, Penn State. We lost at Iowa State. It just doesn't feel as good, right? But if you go 6-6 or 7-5, but one of those wins is against, Oregon or Penn State, then I don't know, you feel a little bit better about things, in my opinion. So, but yeah, I guess we'll just wait and see. Bye week couldn't come at a better time because, man, we are injured right now, and hopefully you get past the bye week. Offensively, hopefully Mark's okay, but then get Reese Vanderzee back, which will be nice to get him back. Because I really do think going into the year, he was probably Mark's kind of safety blanket, and really unfortunate, like 2 days before the first game gets hurt. So he should be back. Hopefully we can get Jazz back. Hopefully we get Xavier Williams back. Because like yesterday, it was really 2 guys, Moulton and McNeil, which I really like what I see with McNeil, but just getting those 2 guys back for more depth. Offensive line got a little banged up yesterday. Bo Stevens got hurt a little bit. Jenny Dunker, defensively, Harrell got hurt. So we need a bye week. We need this bye week to just get right. And then on to Wisconsin, which is a massive, massive game, because you really can't lose that game given who we play the next 3 weeks: Penn State, Minnesota, Oregon, and then at USC, actually the next 4 weeks after that. And so you really got to take care of business up there. So here's to hopefully Mark is good to go, because we desperately, desperately need him. All right, well, that will do it for this episode. Probably will take a week off since it is a bye week, but we will be back in a week or a week and a half, and we'll just go from there. All right, thanks, guys, for listening, and go Hawks.